Guys, welcome to the next episode of the podcast Deep Talks. Today with my friend Quen Tan. Quen, welcome.
Thank you, Peter, for having me here at this Deep Talk podcast. I'm looking forward.
And the city behind us is Singapore, guys. So we are recording another episode from Asia. And Quen is my new friend from Singapore. He's also a keynote speaker. He also has his own podcast that is called Wholehearted Podcast. You can check then his podcast too. And Quen is an expert on leadership, expert on storytelling, how to rewrite your life story. And he's also a fan of gins. So I promised him to bring Jufanex gin to Singapore next time. So I will try to smuggle some good gin into Singapore.
You shouldn't be telling all these things, So,
okay, so not on camera, right?
Yeah.
So, Quen, life story. How can I change my life story?
How can you change your life story?
Or how to improve?
We all can change our life stories, right? We are all storytellers. Don't believe it? Don't believe it? Just give your staff, your employees insufficient information. Mm-hmm. And what happens? They gossip.
Yeah.
They tell their own story.
Yeah.
They make up their own story with their own imagination. So we are all storytellers. And that's the reason why we are so hooked on Netflix, we are hooked on movies, we are hooked on drama,
we love
serials,
stories. Yeah.
All kinds of stories. We all love stories. We all tell stories.
Uh-huh.
And the thing is this, you can change your life story because sometimes we tell stories of how maybe we are a little bit hard luck. We tell stories of maybe, people do us wrong, people disappointing us. We tell ourselves stories that we're not good enough. And I think that there comes a point in time when you have to look at yourself in the mirror and realize that, enough is enough. That, you can change your life story.
Well, I read some research that storytelling is the way how we pass the culture for the next generation and the next generation. So without storytelling, we would be just monkeys.
That's right.
Without ability to spread our knowledge to the next generation, to our kids. So storytelling seems to be crucial and our brains are made for storytelling, right?
Absolutely.
So, and now we have AI and AI is trying to use storytelling as a tool, also. So how you look at, the new era of AI and how you look at the ability of, for example, ChatGPT to use storytelling as we do.
Personally, I still feel that we are storytellers and we have the obligation to write and rewrite our own stories. And although ChatGPT is able to collate a lot of the stories and actually write stories for us, I think at the end of the day, we still have to pass our own, our own internal values.
Unique stories.
Our own internal North Star. Right. I think stories are a way, as you mentioned, to pass on values. It's a way to pass on, learnings and teachings. Think about it, right? It's like all the religious teachings. They're all in a form of stories.
Yeah.
Right. If you travel to a new country, like you come to Singapore, if I go to Czech Republic, if I want to find out more about the culture of the place, where do I go? I go to the museum. Right. The museum are stories.
Right.
The media is telling stories. So
books are full of stories.
Books are full of stories.
Yeah, even my publisher, when I wrote a book for the first time, and there were almost no stories. And he said, you should add there more stories, and you should start a story at the beginning of the chapter, and not to finish it, and wait till the end, and then finish the story at the end, because readers are excited. So they want to know the answer. Yeah. So this is so powerful, and you are a writer to be able to, express those stories and help those readers to understand those concepts even more in detail, because stories helps you to give the message.
Absolutely.
So, but you are talking about your own life story. So, in my perspective, is it the way how I look to my past, how I explain my life to myself? In psychology, they call it explanatory style. You can be positive. You can tell people, "Oh, I am a lucky guy," or you can tell that you can feel that you are a loser, you are losing all your battles in life. So how to change it? How to change your story from negative one into positive one?
First of all, you need to be aware of what the stories you're telling yourself. Okay. So for example, just listen to a person telling his or her own story, right? I can really tell where the person is at after a while. For example, if the story is always external focus, external driven, it's like, I am like this today because, my father, my mother, they didn't give me a good upbringing.
The victim mindset, right?
The victim mindset, yeah. So the way I am
toxic,
is it's external, right? So it's external focused. Yeah. And so they don't have the internal locus of control. And when they don't
control.
have
I love
the
it.
internal
Yeah.
locus of control, then it is, they're not able to then change and rewire the way they see life. So
Wow.
stories are the way we code experiences. So we code experiences. Our minds are meaning-making machines. So we code our experiences in stories. So for example, if I believe that I have a hard luck story, I'm not good enough, one day I may be invited to give a very important keynote in front of 5,000 people. I'll be very excited, right? But this experience is not consistent to the story I have with myself. I'll be thinking to myself, but wait a minute, it's like, I'm not this kind of person. I'm a hard luck story. This success is too much for me.
Okay.
So what happens, we can do a few things. Number one, we may start to self-sabotage ourselves. We may start to decline the opportunity. Or even if we really do take on that opportunity, what happens is that we may overcompensate. We may, practice even harder, prepare even harder, and give ourselves too much pressure and stress. And in the end, we don't perform.
Yeah.
We have performance anxiety.
So I think that they call this self-fulfilling prophecy, right?
Yeah.
Because your mindset influences the outcome.
Correct.
So if you believe that you will be successful,
Correct.
you have higher chance to be successful.
Yes.
If you feel that you are a loser, you have higher chance to be a loser.
Yes.
So this is so strong in psychology.
Yes.
But what I mean is that a lot of people, they have this victim mindset. My experience is that if you meet people on the street, the locus of control is always outside.
Yes.
Like politicians, parents,
Government.
how to help them to
My boss.
take their life and be like the leader of their own lives.
Actually, Peter, I read your book, right? And a lot of it is about, talking about, creating habits, right? Training your rider of the elephant.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Rational self and how to
emotional
overcome
self.
emotional one. Yeah.
Correct. So the storytelling is very powerful because the storytelling is actually very much part of the limbic system, the emotional brain, right? And so even though you may have, consciously, rationally say, I want to improve my life, but if your story is still a very, very is a very entrenched one about how you're a victim, how you're not good enough, then it's extremely difficult. So what you need to do then, according to your book, is to take small steps, right? Start small so that you are able to give yourself, your elephant, right, the confidence to actually go and change and rewire their lives. Because what happens is then the elephant doesn't have that aversion to changing their life. So give yourself, take small steps every day. So I really like one quote that really, really stuck with me from I would like to say a book, but this is another book, James Clear's Atomic Habits.
It's very similar to my work. I love him too. So yeah,
I love James Clear as well. And what he said was, every single action and habit you make is a choice, is a vote for the identity that you want to be.
Yeah.
So I used to go running every day. I used to have a habit of doing that. But every time when I run, I feel very bad. I feel like shit, because I'm telling myself I'm going to run because I'm fat. I need to run because I'm fat. So what am I actually repeating in my head, in my emotional brain, is that I'm fat.
Okay.
Right? So there's a lot of body
you are undermining your self-esteem.
Exactly. And I was actually doing it was like a chore. It was a task. It wasn't joy. It wasn't joyful for me. Until I read the book and I realized that, no, I am not running because I'm fat. I'm running because I'm a fit person.
Yeah,
I'm
a
casting
healthy
a vote.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, a vote. So when I'm healthy, I'm fit, I'm lively, I'm alive. And so I go jogging every day without fail today.
Wow. And I loved the idea that every minute in your life you cast for the future. So if you tell yourself, okay, now it's the time for procrastination. And if you do that, then, for example, in the morning, you can get up with the first alarm clock, or you can snooze 5 times. And this is the first second of the day, and you are casting which personality or which person you want to become.
Yes.
And those details matters.
Yes.
And this is so important. So how to help people to be mindful? Because sometimes you just wake up, postpone the alarm clock, and it's done, and you are not mindful about doing that. So how to help people to recognize that those details are so important?
I always ask people one very powerful story, a powerful question, right? Is this, if one day your life will flash before your very eyes, if it's a movie, is it worth watching? Suddenly you stop becoming the actor of your own victim story. You start to zoom out and become a script writer. If you were to rewrite the script of your story, how would you rewrite it? What kind of person are you? How would you script the character?
Okay.
How would you sketch this character? And then if you are the director of this movie, you're going to direct this person to act in a certain way. How would you direct this person? right? So how do you make your life movie one worth watching? So if you're snoozing and snoozing and snoozing, and the moment you zoom out of it,
it's a very boring movie then.
it's boring and it's disempowering, and after a while,
not motivating to others, right?
You will change the channel because you're like,
you want your kids see your movie about your snoozing, right?
You don't want your kids to see that. You don't want your grandkids. It's not something you want to tell.
The guy is a loser. He's snoozing 10 times. Wow. Congratulations.
Exactly. Snoozing 10 times, not getting his ass off that bed, not cultivating positive habits. And I'm like, that doesn't look like a winner. Doesn't look, smell, talk, move like a winner at all.
Okay. I love my life story. I'm in Singapore. Yeah, I love this movie of my life.
And you're a good-looking person as well. Of course, why shouldn't you like it? Yeah.
So, but tell me, like, even though sometimes I'm losing this positive mindset. Yeah, sometimes I'm tired. Sometimes I'm lazy. Even though I wrote a book about procrastination, I have to confess that sometimes I procrastinate. So
irony.
No one is perfect, right?
Yeah.
So how to overcome those moments of imperfection? And is it okay to be imperfect sometimes?
That's a great question, by the way. If you ask me that question personally, it's still something I'm working on. I'm still a work in progress. I'm extremely harsh on myself. I tend to say things about myself that I wouldn't say to other people. I tend to shame myself a lot, actually. One of my primary emotions, we talk about emotions, right? One of my primary emotions in my life is shame.
Really?
I live with a lot of shame. Yeah, I always feel like I'm not good enough. Like I said, I was fat shaming myself. I'm shaming myself with all kinds of things. Yesterday, I met up with a client of mine, a very close client of mine, and he brought me out for lunch and drinks. And we had such a great conversation. And then I had a bit too much to drink. And he said, hey, you know, man, it's like you drank so much, you just fell asleep in the restaurant. And you just like, I had to call an Uber and send you home, right? And he was very concerned for me. And when I woke up this morning, I felt like shit. Sorry to say this. Right? I hope to say that I
was it yesterday?
Yes, I hope to say I always feel like $1 million, like a champion.
But you look very good today. So
oh, thanks.
It was not that big party.
Oh, I was sloshed. Trust me, I was sloshed.
Lovely.
And I woke up this morning feeling.
Now I'm looking forward to drink gin with you in the future. If you can fall asleep during the party, that's best. Yeah. Everyone remembers you then.
I don't mind falling asleep. Right? The worst thing is when you get drunk, you say something stupid, you do stupid things. I don't want to do that. I woke up this morning feeling so ashamed of myself. Sorry to say that. I really felt ashamed of myself.
Then I have a tool for you, because there is a very new research on procrastination. A very important thing is to forgive yourself.
Yes, that's
so
right.
Self-forgiveness correlates with lower rate of procrastination. So if you are shaming yourself, you are undermining your self-esteem, and you fail much often in the future.
Yes.
So sometimes when you fail, just tell yourself, it's okay, next time I'll try better, and forgive yourself. So self-forgiveness is a key source of happiness and, let's say, fighting procrastination in the long term. So now you can forgive yourself. I forgive you.
Man, I mean, just being able to share this out on this podcast, right, was very helpful for me.
Thank you so much.
For me to admit this, that I suffer from this, and it's still work in progress. Yeah.
Well, now I feel a little bit sad that I wasn't there to party with you, but next time. Yeah.
Well, you were partying with another person yesterday, weren't you?
But sometimes it's fun. Yeah, I'm thinking about this in my life. Yeah, I'm going to Prague tonight. My flight is.
You're leaving this wonderful place?
Yeah, I'm leaving this wonderful place. My flight is 11:30, and I know that when I arrive to Prague, there are 3 parties. One of my good friends has birthday on Friday, another party on Saturday. I do go to Brno, that is second biggest city in my country, and there is a festival, and I was there like 3 times in a row, and every time it was a party. And then I have a keynote for my client, and he basically hired me not just for the keynote, but for the party with his managing team.
Oh wow!
So tough life. Keynote. So yeah, it's
someone's gonna do it, man.
Keynote and drinking.
Someone's gonna do it. Tough
and
life.
I'm like wondering, like, if I do that, if I do 3 parties in a row, I would regret that too. I will undermine my self-esteem. So how to do that? Like, what is your advice to me? Like, how to survive 3 days back in Czech Republic?
Okay, I don't know about surviving back in Czech Republic.
I will stay here, maybe. This is the best thing to do.
I think really,
to cancel the flight.
I think the point here I'm trying to make, right? I think I'm glad that you brought this up. The real point here is really awareness and consciousness. What I was ashamed about is not drinking. It's not about drinking and falling asleep. What I was ashamed about is losing self-awareness and losing consciousness.
Okay, yeah.
Like I was just in Penang just one week ago. I was there with my wife. We went to a few bars and we had a ball of time.
Okay.
And we drank and drank and drank. And we generally have a good time.
So what is the difference? Tell me, what is the difference to have a nice party, not drink a lot, enjoy the process, and not to regret? Or what is the difference between the state when you were yesterday?
I think the key thing here is about self-awareness. It's like when I am engaging in the drinks, I'm taking the atmosphere, it was a real party, I was having fun, I was having the time of my life.
Okay.
Right? And that actually rejuvenates me. So the next morning I wake up feeling like, hey, that was fun last night. That's like, yeah. When I have fun, I'm actually increasing my self-esteem. I'm actually reinforcing, I'm casting a vote for the person that I am the kind of guy who works hard and plays hard. Right?
That's my life mission too. Work hard, play hard.
Exactly.
And finding balance, because if you are 100% systematic, 100% responsible, you are boring then.
Exactly.
Because nothing interesting is there. So sometimes you need to have a system and be able to overcome the system. Sometimes, not every day, but sometimes to improvise, to go outside of your comfort zone and enjoy the life. This is life.
The key word is choice. So I had a choice. I walk in, I made a choice. I walk in, I have fun, I engage, I wrangle the most out of life in that moment, and I felt so uplifted. But the thing is, when I drink to excess, when I fell asleep, and so much so that my client
love the story.
has to send me home, right? That is like I forgo my agency. I forgo my ability to make that choice.
Agency is a great word for that.
Yes, I forgo my agency, and so it's like the entire day was a write-off. I was supposed to be like writing a blog post. I was supposed to be preparing for the podcast today, but
so you are not prepared, right?
It was written off. Man. It was written off.
Yeah.
I'm always prepared. I work hard, but the thing is, it was written off. So that loss of agency was what really made me feel like.
Okay.
That's the reason why I tell myself, say, you know what, I'm not going to do that again.
Okay.
So sometimes, we need to really experience a deep pain that we tell ourselves enough is enough.
Exactly. Yeah. You have to fail to recognize that you need to change something.
Exactly.
Without failure, you are not learning new things. So, but you have to forgive yourself. This is the part of the process. So you fail, you recognize the failure.
Yes.
You do a change in life, and then you forgive yourself.
Absolutely.
And then probably you fail again in the future.
Yeah.
You have to admit that it's difficult to change one's personality, but still you are trying, and that's it. That's life. Yeah, fail, try.
But this is a very deep conversation we're having right now, because I am a very big believer that we all have our internal thermostat setting. Mm-hmm. What I mean by internal thermostat setting is this: in our lives we are used to a certain level of success or a certain level of effectiveness, but when we grow, sometimes what happens is that we start to, because any new successes, right, doesn't, like I said earlier on, fit and be
with
consistent.
The baseline,
fit consistent with our internal narrative of ourselves. And so what happens is we'll find ways to sabotage ourselves. Think about it. After 30 years in the acting scene, Will Smith got his Oscars. Yeah. And in that Oscars, he punched Chris Rock.
Oh yeah.
Right. So that's example of
very famous story.
Example of how we upper limit ourselves. This is called upper limiting problem. Meaning to say that when we have a level of success that is incongruent with our level of ourselves, what happens is that we will subconsciously do something to sabotage ourselves. Yeah. And I found myself doing that a lot. I used to really struggle, and I was broke. As a facilitator, as a trainer, I got no gigs, and I had to I was in my early 30s. This is a story of shame again, but I'm not afraid of sharing this. I share this in my keynote speeches. At the age of 32, I was single, no girlfriend, and I went to draw money in the ATM to buy food. It says no money left.
Okay.
Insufficient funds. I had to call my mom and ask my mother to transfer me $50 to buy food. Early 30s, borrowing money from my mother just to buy a plate of rice. Yeah. That was utter humiliation. It was the lowest point in my life, right? And that was a moment in time I told myself, you know what? I got to figure things out. I got to, no matter what, figure out how to actually make my dreams come true. To be a facilitator, to be a keynote speaker, to be a sort of the coach. And today, I would say that I have success beyond my wildest dreams. But there are times I still pinch myself. And there are times I still do stupid things to undermine myself. And so I realize that agency, awareness, and self-consciousness is ultra important. The higher you climb, the more successful you become.
100% agree.
You need to really keep your wits about yourself, because otherwise you will start to feel like complacent. You start to feel you're invincible, and you do some stupid shit that will just undermine everything.
Yeah. Sometimes those failures are very humbling experiences.
Yes.
And humbleness is a key to survive success.
Yes.
Because it's not difficult to reach success.
Yes.
It's much more difficult to sustain success.
Yes.
And sometimes I have very successful clients. And what I feel is that when you get used to, you want something more and something more. And if you are not humble, you can get crazy.
Yes.
So humbleness, the real humbleness that is learned through failures is something that you cannot buy. You cannot buy such a training, right?
Yes.
Because you experienced something very deep when you were calling your mother and you were completely at the bottom of your life. And you cannot try this training. I would love to buy the training to my future kids, to my colleagues, but you cannot do that.
You cannot.
Yeah. And I experienced something similar. I experienced a near-death experience twice in my life. And it was also like the bottom of my life. And I thought that that's the end of my life. I survived that, both of those situations. But I would buy the training, or I would buy the lesson again. Because when you survive that and you see the difference, it's very helpful. So those failures are the best teachers.
I'd like to ask you that question then. What is the difference between post-traumatic stress disorder and post-traumatic growth?
Yeah.
How do some people survive some low point moments and they have a post-traumatic growth? But why some people have a traumatic experience and they just get defeated forever?
Yeah, this is my favorite study. It's a meta-analysis from 2008. And they truly took all studies about post-traumatic growth and post-traumatic stress disorder. And they found that there is a pattern. And the pattern is your approach to the situation. So if you tell yourself, basically your story is important. If you tell yourself, oh, I experienced something terrible and my life is going to be ruined forever, then you are undermining yourself, and there's again happened the self-fulfilling prophecy. But if you tell yourself, okay, I experienced something terrible, but now I will be even better. So when I experienced my near-death experience, I told myself, since now I don't want to waste my life. So it was like life-changing in a positive way. And truly you can experience the same story, but how you tell the story to yourself influence the outcome. So basically, when you go to the trauma, or if you go to the moment when you are down, you can rewire, or you can, let's say, as you do, like rethink the story. And sometimes you need therapy for that, like 10 years of therapy if it's a huge trauma. Sometimes there are some psychedelics research that it works. So they are doing a lot of research at, for example, Stanford University about psychedelics that they can help. It's a shortcut for like being able to embrace those traumas and rewire them. But I think that we experience this on daily basis. Small traumas, like for example, you are waiting for MRT, for subway, and someone kick you, or someone push your mobile phone and it breaks. And you can experience it every day. Little traumas, little small, not traumas, maybe little small disappointments. And those moments are the room for growth. So whenever you are mindful about that and you can tell yourself, okay, in this time, I want to react differently. I have a freedom to choose my reaction. Then you can train this habit. And even though if you in the future experience something terrible, you have the ability already from those small steps. So this is the science behind post-traumatic growth, and you can train it in a small matters.
Yeah, that's very fascinating for me as well. What you just mentioned just triggered me in a way, in a positive way, to think about this word trigger. And recently I've become even more aware the deeper I go into the work of trauma-informed, and also going to the work of becoming a better coach, right? I started becoming very aware, having agency over all my triggers. And it's a very common phrase where people say, oh my God, I'm so triggered because I want to say something to you and you didn't make eye contact with me, or you roll your eyes. It makes me triggered, right? So when I said, I'm so triggered, what happens is that you're given away your agency. Because when you say, I am so triggered, it's a victim story. I'm triggered by you. But the question you should be asking yourself is, what is it about it that triggers me? Because if I am easily triggered by people, I've basically given the remote control of my life to another person.
And you are losing your agency, right?
You lose your agency, right? Because people can just come and say something and you're triggered.
And you see how the sentence, the small difference, and you have completely different outcome.
Yes. So I don't say I'm so triggered. I say, what's triggering me? And I changed my questions in my mind, and I'm now starting going, shit. It's like, if I'm so easily triggered by somebody's body language or somebody's look in the eyes, then there's something about me that is not complete. There's something about me that needs some healing, needs some, traumatic trauma therapy, right? Or need to just go and get okay with that. Like you said, right? Forgive myself.
Yeah, forgiveness is crucial, and sometimes what is also crucial is to admit that you have negative emotions. So sometimes I feel like, okay, perfect, negative emotions are here.
Yes,
I can explore them, and when you do that, you decline them.
Yes.
So sometimes if you are stressed, because you are stressed, it reinforces itself. So sometimes if you are negative and you are like, oh, I'm negative, and you are start to be even more negative.
Yes, you go in the spiral.
It's like the spiral. So sometimes when you feel negative, when you feel stressed, you should tell yourself, perfect, I want to enjoy those negative feelings and I want to explore them. And if you tell yourself this, like, oh, now I feel sad. Oh, perfect. Let's explore this. I want to understand sadness because I have my clients that are sad and I want to be a better coach to help them.
Yes.
So if you take it as it is and explore it and don't judge it like, oh, sadness is bad. Sadness is interesting.
Yeah.
If you are if you are anxious, it's also interesting to understand the feeling, why, where it happened, your history. So don't judge feelings.
Yes.
And don't give them the label good or bad. Because all feelings are interesting.
Exactly, and that's what I bring to the table as a coach. Because my clients, I coach like senior leaders, Fortune 500 companies, C-suite leaders, sales leaders, people who face a lot of stress, and they have all kinds of emotions. But then the corporate world don't really allow them to emote. Right, or the proper and elegant expression of the emotions. And that's the reason why we start to see a lot of CEOs getting into things like office affairs, getting into all kinds of emotional challenges. It's because of that repressed emotion that's not coming out.
Exactly. And then they become toxic leaders.
Yes, they take it on other people.
And I believe that they are not bad inside.
Yes.
They don't understand themselves, and they are not capable of overcoming those problems inside, so that they use those problems and they spread them to others. Yeah,
they project to other people.
That's
so
it.
They need to really understand their own, like you mentioned in your book, right? Self-regulation, right? So they need to understand their own self. Self-regulation is such a powerful tool. And also because if they understand their own triggers, then it's not so easy for people around them to press their buttons. Right? Because what happens is when we say we are triggered, what happens is that we are recalling, right? I think it's our amygdala that's recalling a past memory that's coded in a story. So, for example, if let's say if my friend showed up 15 minutes late and I have an outburst, I was like angry with my friend, why are you late? But the thing is, it may actually be because maybe when I was young, my father said he's going to come back and play with me, but he was late, and I was really disappointed. And so what happens is I'm not reacting to my friend being late. I'm actually reacting to a memory, a trauma,
deep memory,
a deep, intense. Felt experience and emotion around something that happened.
And your amygdala is sensitive,
Exactly. And we become we look out for that. Because we are particularly sensitive to that. So for some people it's like, it's okay, it's just 15 minutes. But some people are like, no, it's not okay. And so therefore we start to see, that's also what makes life interesting, right? People are reacting differently to different things. But I think really studying our triggers, studying
triggers is crucial. And I love my triggers. I think that this is part of my life.
Tell me more. What are some of your triggers that you love most?
Oh, okay. So now here we go.
We go deep into the
I definitely have triggers, and I experienced it with one of my new colleagues. And the trigger was that I had another colleague 5 years ago, and they were a little bit similar. And new colleague did something that remind me the ex-colleague. And I react very, very emotionally. And she was like surprised. And she said like, I don't want to work with you anymore if you behave like that. I was like thinking, why I behave like that? Because I did something like this. Yeah. And she was like, oh, you are crazy. And I was like, what? And then I was, okay, that was the trigger. And I now understand the trigger. So I promised her, look, so next time I won't do that probably, but sometimes it can happen. But now I have to explain the story, why I have this trigger, to be more empathetic to me, to understand why I'm behaving that's crazy, because it's not my craziness, it's my past experience. And if you understand my past experience, then we can work together on a way that at the end, okay, sometimes maybe I overreact. I want to fight with it. I don't want to be that, but I have those triggers.
Yes.
So I have to admit that I have them, and I'm not happy with that.
Yes.
But I want to work on that. And the other person, if she's also mindful, she can help me to overcome my triggers in the long term. So you can always, when you fail, you can ask people for help.
Yes.
So I can tell you, hey, Cohen, I have a problem. I have those triggers.
Yes.
So next time, if you see me behaving that crazy, you can help me. You can ask me those questions, or we can discuss that, and we can be more mindful together.
To co-create a better future, right? So it's like you're inviting people, giving people that safe space to call you out for, say, hey, you're doing that again. Right? And then you need to be humble as well as a leader, right? To be humble enough to really allow people to challenge you, push back to you. I think you're also giving psychological safety for people.
Psychological safety is great, even at workspace. It's crucial, because I remember why I have some triggers, because my father, he has those triggers. Why that? Because my grandpa, he also has those triggers. So it's like cascade.
Yes.
And I know that.
Yes.
But I want to work on that.
Yes.
So it's not my destiny. You can change your destiny.
Yes.
And sometimes I love my triggers because that's me. And I'm thinking like, if I don't have those triggers, I would have a completely different personality. Yes. So sometimes even those bad things are part of you, and you should not hate yourself for that. And you can say, this is Cohen, even with those good parts and bad parts together. And somehow it shaped your life. And we should be grateful even for those triggers.
Exactly, and those triggers actually push you forward, right? I mean, sometimes people say we are not motivated, we are not stimulated, but actually triggers are actually, the same side, two sides of the same coin. Yeah. So if it's negative trigger, it is kind of like it's a negative trigger that will actually take you down the spiral, get you down the negative emotions. But you can actually rewire and rewrite that into a positive trigger. So, for example, imposter syndrome, right? I feel like I'm not good enough. I feel like, what if I fail? I'm afraid that I'll be found out. That is something that I've lived with a lot, because I told you I'm an expert on shame, because I live with a lot of shame in my life. Yeah. But if I just go and relook at all my imposter syndrome, it actually makes me work harder. Yeah. Imposter syndrome makes me work harder to actually overcome. So if I feel very inadequate about something, I actually work harder. I give my all.
And that's a good thing at the end.
That's a good thing at the end, because when I finally have a success, I felt really confident. I felt like, I really own my success. I worked hard for it. Yeah. And now I use that amount of work, I work for it, and that success to now rewire my mind to start to say, hey, you know what? Instead of saying that I'm not good enough, I can say I'm not good enough yet. Yeah. I'm not good enough as of today.
That's it.
But tomorrow I'll get better. And tomorrow and the next day, like you mentioned in your book, Kaizen, right? I
love it.
1% better every day.
100% agree. Yeah.
And then it compounds over time. And then that's how I answer the question of how I used to be suicidal and depressed for 10 years, and how I built myself up to where I am today. Yeah. And I become more, I become more titanium. I become more, resilient.
Lovely, because I think that this is not just your story or my story, because there's a lot of science behind that. Yes. And it seems that your identity influences your habits, but what is even more important, that your habits in the future influence your identity. So if you want to change your identity, you should change your habits. So when you are hardworking, then you decrease your imposter syndrome in the future. Yes. So this is the way, like, to change the present moment and to shape your personality with that. Yes. And then you start to develop what is called positive self-efficacy. Yeah. So that there's a belief in yourself, right? That there's a belief system. So I think the gateway between identity and habits is actually beliefs and values in the middle.
Right?
Right.
So your identity shape your beliefs and your values, and then your values will actually shape your actions and habits.
And then it goes
It
backwards.
goes back. Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So that whenever I feel like I'm not good enough, I always tell myself, I'm not good enough yet, but I'm going to get better.
Okay.
And I work hard at it. And when I get better, I go like, hell yeah, I own it. You know, in the past, when people compliment me for something well done, I always deflect the compliment by saying, I was just lucky. I would not be able to do it again if I try. But now I take the compliment from people with a thank you. And I don't just say thank you as in, yeah, thank you, because it feeds my ego, it feeds my vanity. But no, it's not about feeding my ego. It's really about feeding my identity, not my ego.
Yeah. And see that you do something meaningful.
Exactly.
So for me, positive feedback is a feedback that I'm doing something that is purposeful.
Yes.
And so it's not for my ego. It's for the fact that I do something for others.
Ego 2.0, right, in your book?
2.0, yes.
Yeah, Ego 2.0 in your book, right?
Yeah. We can explain like Ego 1.0 is selfish and Ego 2.0 is selfless. And sometimes we need to combine both. To have a self-esteem is Ego 1.0.
Yes.
Yeah, but Ego 2.0 means that you use your skills and abilities to help others. So you need both, because if you are losing yourself and you are only serving others, there's burnout.
Yes.
Yeah, so if you have no courage to say no, then you are overwhelmed by priorities of other people. So healthy Ego 1.0 is important, but what is important is not to stay there and to ask yourself, okay, now I'm happy, how can I help others?
I used to overdo the giving to others. I thought I was doing Ego 2.0, but actually I was just feeding my need for significance.
Exactly.
I was feeding that emptiness inside me that feels like I'm useless, that I want to be more useful to people. So I become a people pleaser. I have a rescuer complex. I find myself attracted to women who need me to rescue them. So the more broken they are, the more I'm in love with them. Yeah.
Never happened to me.
I'm sure it never happens to you. Never. I'm hitting a trigger somewhere there. But I mean, to all my exes, in a point in time, they were right for me. At a point in time, they were sent into my life to help me to learn a lesson. Well, and it was a lesson I learned well.
Then we should do a podcast about relationships in the future too.
Oh gosh!
When you mentioned this, I had like 10 stories in my head. Like,
you want to tell them now? I mean, this part will be wholehearted.
Well,
right?
I think that like my exes, they don't listen to my podcast because they hate me already. So I have very good relationship with most of my exes.
That's great.
And they are listening to my podcast, hopefully.
Oh, I don't even know if they are listening to my podcast though.
We will see the feedback. But I think that our work is very similar in one specific domain. Yeah. My last chapter of the book is about objectivity, about critical thinking, and I'm writing there or saying there that you have like mental models that are shaping all your life basically. So those are like glasses that everything what you consume go through those glasses. And if you have like dark glasses, everything you see is dark. So if you want to like change your life, habits, whatever, you need to be aware that you have those glasses. Those are those mental models. But you are saying that you have stories, but I think that it's the same. Like your mental models are in a form of stories. So if you want to change your mental models, you should change your stories. So it fits together. And at the end, I truly believe that we all can improve our glasses in terms of objectivity, in terms of self-esteem, in terms of ability to be able to forgive yourself, and constantly improving our stories and mental models, because this is the way how we grow.
In your book also, you wrote about learned helplessness, right? And I personally think that I know that you're a student of Martin Seligman's work.
I met him in person.
Wow. I'm
I had a training from him in Germany.
Wow.
Like 8 years ago, and it was really life-changing. He's so smart. He's very evidence-based, and he's giving you some tips, simple tools that you can deploy tomorrow, and you are a better person tomorrow.
Fantastic. I wish I met Martin Seligman, but I met his disciple, David Cooper-Ryder, who taught me appreciative inquiry. Appreciative inquiry changed my life. 2018, I flew to Cleveland, Ohio, twice to take the appreciative inquiry course, a certification program from the Case Western Reserve University. I went there ready to learn appreciative inquiry as a tool for consulting.
And how it works? Tell me, like, if I want to be, I'm your student, so tell me, like, how I can deploy this strategy tomorrow.
Okay, great.
Today.
Yeah.
We should not procrastinate that. So today.
Yeah, let's talk about it now. Right now, I mean, I hope I do justice to the appreciative inquiry movement. But appreciative inquiry, right, is the idea, right, that, okay, just think of it this way. When you are coaching someone, or when you are doing therapy, or when you are doing consulting, when you walk into a situation, what's the first question you ask? What's wrong? What needs to be changed? What needs to improve, right? Typically, people ask questions like that,
Yeah.
right? But just think about it, right? It's like after a half an hour discussion about what's wrong and what needs to be improved, what needs to be changed, can you imagine the kind of energy in the room? Everyone is deflated because everyone's talking about what's wrong. So the idea of appreciative inquiry is very grounded in positive psychology. Instead of asking what's wrong, we come in and we ask questions like what's right, celebrate what's right, what's working, what are our values, what are our culture, what are something in our fabric that makes up who we are, why are we who we are, why are we who we say we are, what do we cherish, right? So when we start coming from that positive space, that's why it's called appreciative inquiry. We appreciate. What do you appreciate?
Now I see. Yeah. That's so super interesting because yes. I do this with all my team. We have a meeting once in a month, like all staff meeting. And my first question is that if they grab the most positive experience from the last month, from their business life or from their private life, what it would be, and to share it with others.
Yes.
So basically, I call this like positive questions.
Yes.
Like, what was the best thing that happened to you last month?
Yes.
And then we are sharing that. And after 1 hour, we go around and everyone is sharing. And after 1 hour, we are like super excited, positive. And then we are able to discuss even those tougher ideas.
Yes. Exactly, because you build resiliency, you build energy in the room. So the positive energy, right, actually helps you to be able to create positive change.
Exactly.
So it's a more positive approach towards change management and managing change. I mean, one example is this, British Airways, right, use appreciative inquiry to really improve their customer arrival experiences. So what happens is years ago, I think it was in the 80s or 90s, and that was long ago, right? But it's a real life case study in a textbook. British Airways was having a case of late arrival of baggages. So when passengers arrived, they had to wait at the carousel for a long time before they actually collect their checked-in baggages. So for a long time, the British Airways management has been trying to eliminate baggage delays. So they put on a problem statement as a project on the screen, eliminating baggage delay. And then they were brainstorming for such a long time, but then it was just getting the morale of the team is just getting dragged into the gutters.
Exhausted again. Oh shit! Yeah.
And so they ask themselves, what is the better question we should be asking? How shall we frame our project goal? And they said, on-time baggage arrival. And they're like, okay, on-time baggage, but that does nothing for people. You expect your baggage to arrive on time. Just as you arrive, your baggage arrives.
Yeah, it should be like that. It's not something positive, right?
Exactly. So they change it and they frame it in terms of delightful arrival experiences.
Okay.
Now suddenly the entire project team has a lot more new energy. There's wing beneath their wings. They're getting more excited about, wow, how can we create delightful passenger arrival experiences?
Okay.
And so now
they can have dancers there, parties, bands, and people can wait for their baggage even longer. Yeah, so they won't leave.
Maybe. Maybe. I don't know.
But I get the
point,
idea.
Right? Yeah. So that's how appreciative inquiry, right, it has a more positive psychology approach, and really, I think it's very,
and it works. It's evidence-based. This is truly important. Like 20 years ago, we didn't have a solid evidence.
Yeah.
We have maybe some intuitions about what works, but now we have data that this works.
Yeah.
So positive mindset is the crucial for innovation, for higher creativity, higher productivity. Absolutely. So because you have a higher level of those all hormones in your brain, and if you are happier, you are much more creative. Your communication skills goes up. You are able to improvise much better. Absolutely. So this is the source of long-term productivity, being happy in the present moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Evidence-based.
Exactly.
Remember that.
So that's the reason why in my team, right, it's like when I bring in new team members, we are all very positive. We don't really have I don't really criticize my team members. I don't really scold people.
I do that sometimes.
I give feedback.
But in a positive way, of course.
I give feedback. I never scold or like pinpoint that's wrong.
Yeah.
But we always
I'm trying.
according to Peter Drucker, right? Peter
I'm
Drucker,
getting better in that.
I think it was Peter Drucker who said that the businesses are actually a collection of systems.
Yeah.
And
I believe in systems, yeah.
And the role of a leader is to celebrate the values of an organization so much so that it renders all flaws in the systems irrelevant.
Okay.
So by uplifting, it's almost like, you know, I mean, in case you think I'm just embarking on some kind of a woo-woo toxic positivity, no, it's not. We acknowledge that there are problems, but by elevating the energy, the vibration of the team through our values, through our beliefs, through positive psychology, we now are more equipped to deal with whatever problems come our way.
Right.
Just like the rising tide raises all the ships.
I have the experience from my life, from my clients. It's based on science, so we should believe that.
Brilliant.
Yeah, and it's not toxic. Like I hate toxic positivity because you need to face your problems.
Yeah.
But if you are happy before,
absolutely,
it's easier.
Yeah.
Right. So, and you don't take those things as problems. Maybe you take it like opportunities for growth, or you are more innovative.
Absolutely.
So this is the way. Like, be positive, but not toxic.
Yep.
And I have the last question for you, my friend, because you shared so many stories from your life.
Oh yeah.
You are helping others to reshape their stories. But what is, according to your unique life experience, what is purpose of life, and what is your purpose? Well, tell me. This is the question that I asked
question, man.
170 guests before you, and everyone had a different answer. So I'm looking forward to your one.
Wow. I mean, it really depends on when you ask me this question, right? But not ask me this question, right? After a few beers, maybe you get a different answer. But
yeah, we are sober today.
We're very sober today, yeah.
But next time I will bring the gin. But that's not the purpose.
That's not the purpose. But you're a man who knows your priorities, right?
Yeah.
Good on you, girl. You're going to bring the gin.
And this is not a partnership, I tell you.
For myself, right, I resonate my background story very much like an outcast. I feel like I never fit in. I felt I never fit in school. I was bullied a lot. I was subjected to bullying. I was subjected to violence, right? So I feel like an outcast. So because of that, right, I'm also very inward looking. So I always reflect on myself and say, why am I such an outcast? Is it am I not good enough? Is it am I not, clever enough, smart enough, intellectual? I mean, athletic enough? Like, I'm always feeling like it's a bit like the.
So you turn the pain
duckling, right?
Inwards. Inwards.
So my journey has always been a very, very inward journey, and so I've overcome a lot of these demons, inner demons. I have really structurally, systematically, rewire my life through a lot of inner work, healing, and positive psychology, improv theater.
Improv theater, I love it. Yeah.
So I'm a more spontaneous person. So I really, really. If you look back 10 years ago, you wouldn't recognize me today. If you look back 20 years ago, 30 years ago, even more so. So I really have gone through this journey of like really rewriting my own story.
Okay.
And my purpose really is to inspire the people to do the same by setting their hearts free, and so that they can rewire the story, they can rewrite the story in their own life, so they can be the hero that they truly want to be.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
And what do you think is like the general purpose of us as humans? So do you think that there's some general purpose that is valid for all of us, or is it like a unique thing?
Wow. To answer your question, actually, I would like to share with you a person that I really admire is Buckminster Fuller. I have never met him, but I've met his disciple, Marshall Thurber. And so I use this metaphor always in my keynotes, and I'm going to share this right now. Imagine a bee. A bee, what is the purpose of a bee? To collect nectar, right? To feed itself.
Probably that's the selfish purpose. But then bee has a selfless purpose, because bee should be a part of the herd, part of the crowd, part of the whole.
That's not the full story. So the bee flies to the flower, collect nectar, and it flies to another flower collecting nectar. But as it flies to a flower and he's flying to the next flower, he suddenly feels very disturbed, because the bee is like, ugh, what is this yucky stuff on my wings? Get it off me, get it off me. But the bee flies to the other flower and then collects nectar, and then there's more of that yucky stuff stuck onto its wings, and it's like, what is that? What is that? And then I found out there's actually male pollen and female pollen. And male pollen and female pollen, when they come together, they pollinate.
Okay.
So the bee thinks his purpose in life is to collect nectar. But the purpose it serves is to pollinate and keep the ecosystem going.
Okay.
So the nectar is money. We go to work thinking, we are just here to earn money, to make money, to either buy a nice house or to pay our bills or to bring our children to education. That's what you think your purpose is. But in the process of earning your money, you are actually fulfilling life purpose. There's a general, universal God, design for you. And so, for example, I think was it Churchill who says that if you are a road sweeper, you sweep the road as though you are the best road sweeper in the world. Right? It's like if you go to Disney and the sweeper in Disney thinks that they are there to create great experiences, delightful experiences for guests. They don't think I'm just a road sweeper, right? I'm just a park sweeper, right? So I think the real purpose for everyone is really to be wholehearted in pursuit of excellence and mastery in whatever you do. If you're a speaker, be a great speaker. If you're a writer, be a great writer. If you're a program software coder, be a great coder. The purpose in life is really to wholeheartedly immerse yourself in that craft, be humble, be willing to learn, be willing to grow, be willing to develop yourself to the fullest, wholeheartedly invest yourself in it, in your vocation. And when in the process of doing that, you attain mastery, you attain fulfillment, you attain I get excited. you attain more money, of course, for your family and give yourself a better lifestyle.
As the outcome. Yeah.
Go to a lot of party like our friend here, and enjoy your life. But you have known when you put your head to the pillow at the end of the day, you know that you have made a difference.
Right. So this was a beautiful summary. Now I feel like a little bee going around, and I truly think that sometimes when you fail, it's okay. So just forgive yourself. So we all want to achieve mastery, but sometimes we just fail, and it's okay. And we have to just get up tomorrow and be a slightly better person. So thank you so much, my friend. It was amazing. Thank you for sharing all those stories, and hopefully it was also helpful for our listeners. I enjoy the process. So whenever I enjoy the discussion, usually also our listeners enjoy the discussion. So thank you guys for listening, and see you in the next episode. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
And follow us on social media. Share this episode.
You come to Singapore, drop me a note.
Come to Singapore with a bottle of gin for
exactly. That's key.
For Quentin.
Bye. Bye.